Welcome to Leaving a Legacy with Reverend Vishnu Seepersad. We encourage you to subscribe to our channel for more content.
This morning, personally, I'm going to already process and masters and others. It's nice to have you be a part of this training. I do appreciate you that you see that important. Some of the things that we're going to share this morning is one discussion. So I'm going to be free to ask questions, share your opinion as we go along with the different slides. It's going to be very practical, but in helping you to understand how we do it. When we talk about the legacy table, we don't think about that. So we talk about legacy because for many of us, we have been churches, we have developed and churches. So how do we go about that? A lot of the things that we hear is from experience. Some of the things that I've shared this morning is that what we have tried and tested and proven that it works. So it saves you a lot of time and you having to try and test it. Right? Some of the things that our spiritual father pastor Jerry has done, and has proven itself over a long period of time, we have adopted as well, and that's what we work with us. So we're going to start in this. We are taking it as well too, so that if you miss some of the notes, we will be able to put that on the channel. So we often would be given a legacy. Right? It is said that if it is not built, it does not exist. So if it is not built, it does not exist. So you have to be very intentional in what you are doing and what you are building. In other words, you have to know what you are building. You know, church cannot just be Sunday morning we come and we have service. We are still in the charismatic movement. Yeah, especially if we are coming from a Pentecostal background, where there is excitement and control. It's a lot of emotions, but nobody is mature. Because that is what will be tested in ministry, mature and not believer. Paul writes in Timothy 2:1-2, and it says that you then, my son, be strong in the grace that is in Christ Jesus, and the things which you have heard me say in the presence of many witnesses, entrust to reliable people who will also be qualified to teach others. That's the objective. Entrust to reliable people who will also be able to teach others. So that we would astute which conveys trust, belief, or the act of committing something to someone. Right? So what is the key there? We want to know that whatever we are entrusting, whatever we are committing to the people that are around us, to the people that we are mentoring and developing, they also must be able to transfer the exact thing to the others. It's like Moses' spirit, right? When he saw the tabernacle, God had to take from Moses' spirit and transfer it into craftsmen who were able to do exactly what God wanted. So it was first deposited into Moses, and then after you translate it to other men. And that's what you want to translate your spirit into the people that are working along with you or under you, so that they go on. That's what really is needed. Now, here's the question. How much has the church grown over the past years? Many of us are pastoring for years. Right? You have to ask yourself, how much has your church grown over the past year? Now, ask yourself this question. What is the grace or the gift that is common in your church? I should ask you, what is it? What is common? What is the gift that is common in your church? You should be able to answer that immediately. But that is going to form the pillars of your church. Right? Secondly, why would someone choose your church? How many churches are there in your area, in your family? Why would they want to choose your church instead of the church that is on the next street? That's what we have about 5 or 6 churches in this town. All of them become your church. So what it is about your church that is different that people will want to come to you and they will not choose other churches that are around. How are you building for the next generation? In legacy, you have to be very intentional of building. Next year I will be 60 years. 60 next year. So by next year, I am already planning to transit my church. Transit my church at 60. Wow. because we are building for our next generation. We're building for our next. So I'm very intentional in how we do that. We're going to talk a little more now. Then, how will the church look like in the next 5 to 10 years? What do you want to see in the next 5 years? Are you going to look back at 5 years and say 5 years from now, are we going to be still with the same thing? Are we going to have the same set of people? Are we going to take those people who are with us for the next 5, 6, 7 years and they have not, you're able to release them, are still going to be sitting there? What do you see in the church and how do you see it in the next 5 to 10 years? So it's always nice to look at a 5 year, every 5 years, 5 years. So this is what you set goals, you set vision, and you have targets that you want to reach that 5 years. So you should have, as pastors, like I told you next year, how do you know what I'm doing in the next 5 years? Right? So you should know that this is what I want to see over the next 5 years. This is what I see over the next 10 years. Otherwise, if you don't, you will still be doing the same thing over and over and over. You understand? Nothing is going to change. Well, that's what you're accustomed to doing, that is going to change. Agree? So a legacy is a long-lasting impact of particular events, action, etc. that took place in the past when it was placed. So something that is transmitted by or received by an ancestor or predecessor from the past. Right? That's been passed on to you, that is given to you. That's what you want to do. So what are you going to pass on to people? If you are not intentional about what you are building, then nothing is going to happen. So you have to be intentional in how to build it. So we are going to consider for this presentation, legacy is something that is passed on. That legacy can take many forms. It can be honest, faith, ethics, core values, monetary asset. It comes from one character, reputation, or value unique, by setting an example for others to guide their future. So we are going to be working with some thought leaders. I'm going to say with myself and my wife. And we're sitting with them every Tuesday for the past 3 months. And so the question I would ask them, what are the core values that you have as a part of our church ministry? If you are the pastor next week that you're going to preserve, and it must be the pastor. We are family. So you preserve them, that's a core value. When you come into that, you know that we are family. Right? You know we start on time. Right? So we don't wait. 8 o'clock is 8 o'clock. That's a core standard. It's a value of us. We start on time. So wherever you go, whether that's a funeral, whether that's a family, whatever, you know, we start on time. So there are particular core values that we have developed. That is part of our ministry. So that has to be preserved. So it has to be passed on. You must know that in order to protect it. So you have to know what you are passing on. Okay? So we begin by creating pillars on blocks. When you begin to create pillars, what happens when the blocks are removed, then the building can still uphold itself. So you have to identify what are the pillars in your church. What it is that is holding your church together. A lot of questions. So I want you to leave here today taking these things and pondering. What is holding your church together? What is your church known for? When we hear KFC, the first thing that comes to our mind is chicken. When we hear Burger King, the first thing that comes to our mind is burger. Right? So when somebody hears the name of your church, what is the very first thing that comes to their mind? That's wrong. When you hear Bible ministries, what comes to your mind?
Excellence.
Excellence. Got anyone in our church? Bible ministry, what comes to your mind? And the very first word that comes to mind is excellence. We try to do everything in excellence. We try to always raise the standard. Right? So let's ask. Just give us the name of your church, and what is the first thing that comes to your mind about your church? What's the name of your church? Kingdom Life Ministries. So we have Kingdom Life Ministry. That's the name. What is very significant about Kingdom? What would you say is the most outstanding feature? Worship. Right. So Now we're talking, we're just sharing. We want to learn it. So the name of the church is Kingdom Life Ministry, and the key thing is worship. Right? So that is what your church is known for. We have good worship. So we have good worshipers, good musicians, things were put together, right? So anybody comes in, they know they enjoy the worship. Right? We put it up. Hey, many. Well, you should know it too, because name of church and what?
Legacy worldwide.
Legacy worldwide, right?
Moving for discipleship, creating an inspiration.
That's what I want to name. Yes. Name is in sync with what is the mission, what is the vision. That's what we are known for, right? We're doing it in
Humility, Christ restoration.
Christ restoration.
We have a form, right? Family oriented and very hospitable.
Family is one. What's the name of it?
Christ restoration.
Restoration. Family. Good.
Yeah, believers in Christ, we move from each of the saints.
Children in the universe, right?
Holy of holies, even in the France.
Even under the world. Yes. I mean,
Believers in Christ, we are known for the word, pure word, and also for family.
let's take a look at it. Or I call it same thing. Yeah. Not correct. So a lot of people is found churches. So that means when somebody comes in, they feel hospitality, they feel once, they feel warm, they feel their heart warm, right? So that is something you want to preserve, because that's what the church is known for. So it's important that the name is in sync with, what the church is about, right? Okay, good. So start to look at what is the inseparable thing that connects these structures and completely. That's important. What are the inseparable things that connects your structure to form a complete? Must make sense, right? In what you're about. For example, a gun and a bullet goes together, right? Can I have a gun and a bullet and it makes no sense. It's just an ornament, right? That's what you don't want. You don't want an ornament. You don't want something that looks like a church, but you have no experience. Right? A bow and arrow. These are the inseparable things. Lock and key. So, what connects? What it is that connects? When we talk about family, what it is that connects your people together? If I should enter a church, what's the name of the church? If I should come in and enter, I am the person when I walk into an environment. That's why I do that properly like that. Because that's how I'm trained. I quickly observe, quickly analyze. I quickly watch how people respond, how they communicate, how they sit, where they sit, or everything. Okay, that's just why. And it tells me a lot. So I always tell people I want to be a prophet. And then it tells me. Yes. And it tells me everything what's happening in our church. Just like observe. So if the church is known for family, then obviously when that step in, we should be greeted, welcome. You must feel that you are part of that church. What it is that you do that makes you say that our church is fun. What is very outstanding about fun? Any hard questions?
One thing is the state. All that is the
So that's a standard thing in every church. There is no church you would go into and nobody would feel proud and appreciated. So we say the same thing. Our core value, the first thing in our core value is family. So we have to identify when we say family, what do we want people to experience when we say family? So exactly what are we going to do to ensure that they feel that they're part of this ministry? When people come to church by day 1, 3 to 4 weeks, I engage them. So we will watch them come 1 week, 2 weeks, to come and visit them. And I want to know why. And a lot of times, they come to the church, first of all, they tell me who's coming. And then secondly, when they come, I ask them, why are you sending me? I want to know why. You are to the church, I need to know what I need to do with it. So the Lord, 95% of people should be in the entire life. And then I will engage And one of the key questions I want to ask is, what attracted you to that ministry? And because they found, they like the family school. So what are we doing that makes them feel that this is family to them? There has to be something special that they do. What it is that makes them feel that they're family? You say that they feel loved, they feel appreciated. Yes, sir. So you know it's Julian.
But our church,
You said family.
yes, I did.
Right.
And support. I said support. Our church is a very small church. So kind of, we know
That's
each
it.
other.
That's good.
We know each other. You know, so we
That
support.
creates the family bond because we know each other intimately now. Very good.
Yes, we support. You know, if someone needs help in our kind of area, and they express and try to help as much as we could. You know, not to be taken advantage of. You know, but that support.
This is a safe place, so when we talk, we learn from each other. So that's what we feel comfortable. Right? Share with each other. Good. That's good. So every person wants a successful ministry. Alright? Nobody wants a ministry that is not successful. However, success is both relative and relevant. Right? We have to see how we measure it. You can say you have a very successful ministry and somebody will say no. Right? So successful ministry is not measured in fame or membership, collateral or cathedrals. And all of these are measurable contributors, but we just can't take that and say, okay, we have a successful church. Right? So successful ministries have three fundamental things in common. Right? And I feel this is what we want to do. First of all, right, true service. So if you build correctly, then the foundation that you're going to build has to uphold the structure that you now want to build. Right? So we want to get those fundamentals correct first. That's a key thing for me. Because if my foundation is not good, so we are going back. We are going back to the fundamental stuff. Why? When you keep adding to the church, it's like a building. When you keep adding and adding and adding, you start going back to check the foundation. What happens? It starts to crack. And those cracks becomes wider and faster. So you end up dealing with more issues and problems rather than pushing the people forward. Because those cracks are the issues and problems you face all the time, over and over. That is because the fundamentals, people are coming and they are coming and learning from the people who are there. And if it's good, bad, or indifferent habits, they're picking it up from those people. Right? And it's going to form cracks, they're going to get offended. All of them are going to happen. So you have to come back to the fundamentals where you need to speak into their life. They need to hear your voice. Get back to fundamentals. So you come back and always teaching the fundamentals, building a foundation. Because if the foundation is not built correctly, God is not going to add to the church because it's going to come. It's the Lord that adds to the church. So not all churches need to be big church. But you have to ask yourself, is the Lord not adding because my foundation is not built properly? So if God knows I'm adding to that, it's going to crumble. Right? Right? Why would God give you 100 people when you are doing a whole lot of stuff, you are busy with and you cannot pay attention to 100? Right? So you have to adjust and see, how am I doing that? So the first thing you want to raise is true sons. And I'm saying true sons because those are the people who are committed to you and your vision. They're committed to you. That's important. It's like David mighty men. You know, they have a commitment to you. They understand your vision. They know where you are going. They have a heart for you. They have a love for you. So they are running with you. You have to find those men and raise them up as true sons because those are the people that are going to represent you. Those are the people that are going to, when they see them, they see you. Yeah. If you see me, you see the Father. So every time you raise up a true son, they are a representation of you as the father of the house. And when people go from Bible ministries, they should know, I'm with the pastor, Pastor Bishop, and immediately they know what they stand for. So they expect you to stand for the same. So you raise them up as true sons. And that raising up as true sons take time. It's not a Sunday morning preaching. You have to be intentional about raising up these people. Because those are the people that you want to influence others. Right? Correct? The second thing we want is committed leaders. The Aarons and Hur that will stand at your side. Right? These are the committed leaders that are going to help to push the vision and move it. So if they are not committed, when the wave comes, they cannot take capacity, then they're going to crumble. And everything is going to fall apart. So you have to make sure that the people who are leaders can carry the weight of the ministry. Because you can have a big vision, but they can't carry it. Because you alone can't carry it in any case. So that's why God gives you people. He brings people around you so that they can help carry the vision with you. But you are the one who has to build the capacity in them to carry it. Not God. Right? God gave Adam a garden and said, you need to prepare and take care of it. I'll give you the garden. You need to take care of it. So you are the one. God will send people. That's why it's important when people come. You go back to God. Lord, I want to know what am I supposed to do with these people? And then start to build capacity in them. Secondly, you want to raise up believers that are bearing fruits. You don't just want people sitting there, right? Because a sheep that does not produce sheep is only good for the slaughter. So if you have sheep that is not, if you have people coming to your church and they are not excited about your church and telling people about your church and want to bring people to your church, then you have sheep that are not producing sheep. They may be good, they may be loyal, but then you have to decide, hey, they are not producing. What do I do? The church will have. It's a game. Yeah. So you start to raise up sheep that will produce sheep. So in other words, you train them, you develop them, how to imagine, how to make people. Are you excited about this church? Is this your home? Is this your family? Then why are you not bringing people? Hey, you need to come and visit this church. You need to come and hear about it. And if you are not attracting new people coming, because the new people who are coming in, the one who is going to bring new people, you're very excited, and guarantee the people who have been sitting there for 5 years will still be sitting for the next 5 years. And then if they wanted to bring people, that will bring them up. So you have people, but they are not there. That's what you're going to have. So if you're going to be proud, you have them people, the people, but you have to want people that are going to produce fruits. Make sense? Yes. Right. So the research has shown that over 40 million people have stopped church after the pandemic. 60% of believers in the United States alone have stopped church. Right? That's okay. And a very small average of 24 million has resorted back to church. So the mega church has failed. Right? One, they are going to smaller churches. The research has shown that they have found smaller churches for the same reason. It is more family. It is a safe place. It is where they feel connected. Right? It has opened itself. When you go to Italy, you have the opportunity to travel and share in Italy. There are a lot of small churches. The capacity of the churches is about 60 to 70 people. Right? Small churches. One is because they have restriction in the door, they can't make out the noise, they can make up. And one comes with this. Then it's sealed, but they're so powerful to the Holy Spirit. So they are small churches, but they are growing. A lot of small churches. When we went to Ghana, a lot of churches, big churches, 1,000, 6-story, whatnot, and a lot of emotions. A lot of emotion, a lot of excitement, a lot of jumping and running and all the excitement. So it was just a crowd coming for the excitement. But in Italy, there was a small and powerful movement. So you have to see what works, right? Yeah. House churches, a lot of people are resorting to house churches. Cell groups. They are formed cells in which they are learning the word and studying the word. And online communities has become another aspect of Islam, online churches. Right? So a lot of people after the pandemic has not gone back to mega churches. The mega churches, a lot of them has collapsed. And they have resorted to these smaller churches now. The smaller churches has proven itself to be very effective but it's really meeting people at their needs. Right? It's not a performance. It's really meeting and being intimate with people. So that has proven itself to be well. So one of the things that we have done, and we have done that has proven itself is what we call our group now, we call cell groups. Whatever you want to put in, we call it like group because we feel it's the hypervigilant. And we have the church is a section of people with different people. And every Thursday, they meet together. And they are meeting with one purpose to discuss the message. This is a very effective method. But it takes you an average of the entire week or more if you're preaching every week to prepare Sunday morning message. So when you look at the amount of hours you put in to share for 45 minutes, that hour on Sunday morning, and by Monday or Tuesday, everybody forgets that message. They can remember one or two things already. Because there's so much information in that message. There's no way they can retain all that information. Right? So what blesses them is that one or two small areas that they may remember. Right? If that is happening, no maturity is taking place. So when the pandemic comes, or anything, you have a lot of people getting offended, there's a lot of issues. But the word is not getting into their spirit. The word is only getting into their head as information. You have to transfer it from their head into their spirit so that they can mature. How do you do that? So we prepare a summary of that message. All the leaders have WhatsApp group. They have their team has a WhatsApp group. So when it goes to the leader, they send it out. And the message is edited and put on YouTube and sent out. So they're listening message. Because on Thursday, they are coming to discuss the same message. So when we meet on Thursday, everybody is discussing the same thing. They are not giving their opinion or what they think. They are discussing the message. So by Thursday, it's reviewed all over again. They meet in different homes, they meet in different communities, we put them together. We have a little time of fellowship, but that's what they do. They study back the word. So in that way, we will get into it. Right? So you have to find a way to say, how am I maturing these people? So I don't have to be doing what is something. And say people come up all the time. But all you have excitement. Right? When the pandemic hit and we can't visit them and we can't go to them. So you have to find out. So the life we set is one of the most effective way to ensure that believers are mature. Very intentional that they are mature. Discussing the word again. But that's what brings the change in the word. The Holy Spirit needs the word to work in it. So if there is no word in them, right? Jesus said, I will break down this temple and in 3 days' time I will raise it up. When you put a word that goes out that cannot return forward, the Holy Spirit takes that word up and raises up Christ from the dead. The same spirit that raised up Christ from the dead, the Bible says the same spirit that dwells in you. Right? So the word is important. Right? So you have to get that word inside of them. And so we have found that they are a very effective method in developing people. But when they get into a life group, that becomes their family. That becomes a safe place because the life group, generally not supposed to be more than 10 people. We have like almost 20 now. It's big people. We are trying to now raise up more leaders. So that's why we are training partner me. Right? So we meet them, we are training and develop them because we know what we want. We don't want them to come and do what they want. So we are training them so that when they go out there, they're doing exactly what we want. They are becoming an extended arm of us. Because they are teaching my people now what I taught them on Sunday. They don't can't understand it, and they can't answer if you have a problem. So I have to spend time. That's what the fathering is about. Intentionally raising up son. I have to spend time with them. And that's why he said, I can't be running women somewhere that I can't control. Right? I need to spend time with them because I want to raise up strong leaders that will teach others so that I can have strong people. Right? So I don't want people coming my and every 6 months they leave. No, I want to work with them for the next 10 years. Right? So that I can raise them up to make sense in what I can do. Is this making sense? Yeah. Okay. So I want to see a perspective of how we do because for us, for too long, when I started church, 15 years old, and I didn't want to be pastor. Right? I wasn't making me a pastor. the prophetic word that says it's stubborn and I said, if I put a pastor, you need to put everything in place. He did everything in place. But I know church happened here. Cannot be this Sunday morning. So I was very intentional in how we were building and we were building stuff. Right? So, the model, build a bigger church and God will fill it with people. That model does not work. Right? It does not work. The mega churches, the bigger churches, program have all these seminars and conferences. They have to find ways of keeping the people active. So they're bringing somebody, have a seminar, have a conference. The time that conference is finished, in 2 weeks' time it's over. I have a lot of issues when they bring in ministers who come in this evening and they have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars. They go back and there is no added value back to the house. It's only a waste of finances. Right? So I'm not discrediting seminars. I mean, we bring in ministers, but we bring them in to teach our people specific things that I want them to teach. Right? So these mega churches start having to go because that's the program. The building is designed for recreation room, bookstore, coffee shop, gym, production room, all those kind of stuff. It's a one-stop shop. So when you come in here in the church, you have everything. Right? That's a model that they built on. Now, what was the problem? The budget. The mega churches were expensive to maintain, and income for staffing and maintenance and all that was overwhelming. That could not be maintained. So a lot of mega churches crashed. But they could not maintain. As people started to leave, they could not maintain the present budget. Go ahead.
But right now we see, especially in Trinidad, many people are adopting that same model, but just in a smaller way. Talk about that.
Yeah. So, the demographic. It attracted a certain generation. So unfortunately, the next generation is not interested in the performance. They are not interested in all of this. You have a lot of people now who are educating themselves. You have a lot of people in this next generation who they have a degree, they have a master's, and that's a basic, right, of what they know. They are outside there, they know technology and everything. So when they come into the church, they find that the church is backward. We are not catching up. There's nothing wrong with technology. There's nothing wrong with using technology. So the church is backward in how they are trying to get that next generation. And if you are not intentional in the next generation, you have another church. Because how is the church going to continue to grow? Right? So those people who are going out to the bigger churches and on performance and what they found that didn't keep them to be better. So that next generation is not looking for it. Right? In fact, that next generation is so into the technology that they are not integrating themselves with people. They are locked up in a room. Right? So you really have to find ways of how do you, that's why the online works well for them. I'm not saying that the online is good because the race is transferred online. So you have to move them to that point. The other thing is the theology. So the theology has shifted where it is a simplified gospel. The message is a comfortable message because you don't want to offend nobody. Right? The problem is that they have no idea what they believe and why they believe what they believe. Nobody can answer for their salvation. You just go to church, it was feel good and come home. Right? Then you have the structure. The pastor became the brand and the vision. So the reason why people attend the church because there was a charismatic leader, he can fill the seat, and when that leader ceased to exist, so that leader morally fell, the entire church comes. If there is no T.J. Jakes, there is no Pentecost. Because it was built on T.J. Jakes. If there is no Joel Osteen, there is no Lake. It was built on him. He was the brand. He was the name. So that's something you have to do. So if you are trying to transit your church and move, and it is built on you, when you move, people will move. That's why you build it on you. You raise up sons who carry vision, because the vision will be on you. Right? So that those churches crumble because when the leader was no longer there, the church could not exist. And then the culture. So in an effort to maintain attendance, the gospel became one that was accommodating to people. An easy gospel. Dependent on gender affairs, sexuality, all those things just thrown out the door. Right? So you just have to make sure that people are comfortable when they come. It's a love gospel. Right? So question. So we look at all that once. Comments? Making sense?
Also,
So now we want to know how far is going to do this. Go ahead.
well, just a lot of sense.
Yeah. So you are not going to pastor your church for the rest of your life. Unfortunately, you will die. Right? What is going to happen to your church? That's why I can't wait until it's. If I am waiting until it's. Now, to be honest with you, there's only so much of it was a house. You make your own sense. When your church reaches 80%, it will start to fluctuate. You hit the ceiling, people will leave. You hit the ceiling, so I have to quickly decide how I'm going to change them. Right? So, what more can you do if you're pastoring for 40 years and more? What more could you do than what you have already done? I'm just asking, I'm going to think. Right? So if you don't see yourself moving beyond pastoring, and that's the end of it all, you will continue to pastor. I know pastors who don't want to do
All right,
different point of view.
I'm slightly different.
Go ahead, yeah. I have no problem with that.
I know that you will not have a problem. One of my observations about how churches are involved is interpreted. So, Scripture says that until we come to unity of faith, it means that until they come to unity, it means that it's going to be a part of this unity before they come to unity. So that's progressive. Until we come to tellers, that is full maturity. So we don't have the partial seasons of maturity before we come to full maturity. So the expression of the church that looks like in this format, to me, it's all part of the season of change that the church has to go through before we come to where God wants us. So before we were mega, we were something else, but there was a season that allowed us to mature and grow in. I suppose our confidence and our ability to be mega, to speak loudly, to gather large crowds. So I wouldn't necessarily say that the mega church in and of itself is faulty. I just say that the season has ended for that.
So I did not say the mega church is faulty. I said the mega church mental has proven itself, not the work effect.
Especially now. Yeah, so I felt like the church may have had a certain attraction to it when it had a certain format. But I understand that the way in which we view each other is based on wineskins. So our wineskin, our old wineskin, in the season of its old wineskin, still has its value.
We didn't throw away.
We didn't throw away, right? We didn't throw away what some of the people who built mega churches and the value that they brought. We don't throw that away. But we understand that there is something called a new wineskin.
So everybody is pushing towards having a mega church. Whether your church will be. The mega churches ranged from 2000, there was 1,500 mega churches in the States.
Yeah.
By 2007, the status was 1,500 mega churches that ranged from 2,000 to 40,000.
Yeah.
Right? And you're talking about 60% of those churches collapsed. So they started, as you said, somewhere,
Yeah.
and they grew to a mega church.
Yeah.
But then in the transition of becoming a mega church, to sustain it,
Yeah.
was really the problem. The shift.
But what I'm just saying, rather than I identify the problem, I identify the season.
Crossover.
So that way, we appreciate that season. We don't curse on part of that season, but we appreciate there's now a new season.
So what I'm showing is that if we build the fundamentals correctly,
Yeah.
like I said, things like raising up 2 sons and your church can reach the hundreds, but the structure and the model of how it's maintained, and people, I think that's the key. Everybody wants the hundreds. They want to see that, but it's, I think for me, it's getting away from the point that church is not just in numbers. Numbers doesn't mean to say that you are successful church. Yeah. So it's very calling, and that's why you have to identify what is my gifting, what is my grace, what is my calling. If my calling is 60 people, then that's what God is going to give me. And I have to work well with 60. But if my calling is hundreds, then I have to develop a method. So for me, I'm not saying that you have to do that. I'm saying for me, my calling is beyond pastoring. Right? My calling is beyond pastoring. So if my calling is beyond pastoring, then I need to ensure that who I'm raising up and pastoring of the church and all their churches must be set correctly. Because the grace would still be here. You understand? But then I must not be stuck in a place where I'm stuck in my season is not good. Right? Yeah.
I would like to say, I hear it comments and I really do the them. But I would like to say, with the mega church, like we gave the example, if in that season they took advantage of that season and built the church and grew and all well and good. However, if they did not implement successorship, as you say, if the ministry was just built around communities, then I don't think that is the wrong way to do it.
But if what was wrong, so if the church was built well, then it would sustain itself without it.
So there needs to be some sort of enunciation from us of that strategy.
It's like a church that is built on gift.
Yeah.
If you have a pastor who has a gift of pastoral demon healing, and that gift is not transferred to the situation, then what happens? People no longer come because that's the attraction. It's a healing ministry.
It's like looking at John and seeing what John did in John's time as unnecessary. But there is a season when John had to increase and Jesus had to increase. But we don't see something wrong with John. You see, John had to and establish the way so that Jesus could come for that. But without the John, there would have been Jesus. So that's kind of where I'm saying some of these guys that do big stuff, they have to now transition into allowing their disciples to then come and follow Jesus.
Well, exactly what you are saying. What is the learning that we are seeing? And that's what we are trying. That's what happened. What is the learning coming out of the mega churches that we need to be aware of? So we do end up in the same place.
What is the maturity that we need to put away to take on the church?
So yes, we pastor as well, because there are some other things that they've not done. You might they experience that kind of success. Right?
Yeah.
But I don't look at that from the point of because there are messages from some of these mega pastors that can reach people. Once I have come to brothers and stuff, I would try to go and then see what they would listen to these messages. I mean, you know that it's a little off, right? But in that way, you get that open that door from us to get the answers that are really, So, it's the efficacy of that, for me, I think it's kind of what it uses that. I haven't seen in a particular where we can step in after fill that gap, fill that gap, and it's so I want to see more or less my people's that they need to fulfill what they want to answer and wants what you do. So they reach more than all of these colleges combined because of their
There was more people as well. What was the purpose of the panel?
Something even hearing this it brought me to remember. I just talk about pursuits and this guy that is out in Africa with his private book. so many people came to the door, even Uriah, but would it be growing the city? I think at least because of that. And right in Trinidad, I was involved in so much of the great crusades, was millions of dollars. I remember one particular year, that was the not the millions of dollars. You know, when we had after that, about the week, 2 days before he left, we had a follow-up service. If 300 people came, it was paid.
So we can say, if we spend $1 million and one person gets saved, one person gets saved. Nothing wrong with that, right? We can say that because we want to find a skill, and that's my intent. Everybody have their opinion, right? I'm not going to spend $1 million to get one person saved.
Well, exactly.
Right? But you can say at least one soul gets saved. Did that soul remain and mature and be That's my
That's the thing. Same thing happening right now with this church. There's some. I spoke to a young lady about 3 weeks ago. About September this year when Marcus and she was there and we were speaking about the same thing. She fellowship at Hillsong. And she said she never really learned anything at Hillsong. And after a while, in fact, early on this year, she left. She said because all it is just emotions. And that is how it people from. Just emotion. People don't grow.
But I mentioned fact that I listened to somebody did I can tell you all right. Somebody has proven itself over a few. But we are myself and we are setting up policies, documents, with a lot of foundations. These things that we can research is to see what goes for the country, what is the improvement over a one core section of the church community. Because whatever you put on a document has to be completed over 10 years. To put something on a change, whatever they go to that is signing off on all these things. It's a whole process. So research has to be done.
Yes.
I am speaking specifically as you as a pastor, you want to leave a legacy. What are you leaving behind? What will your church be known for? Your church. Yeah, you're learning from others that you're going to pick up from, but you need to know what are you building.
Pastor. Yeah. So in that case, as we share here, you as a pastor, the people because of any churches reach out with you and reach people that's in a appropriate page, right? But these churches and mega churches, when you put all the emphasis in production, we have a small church, as a pandemic, everybody set up a stream. And we realize that when it starts streaming, if we have to deliver a message, start to change. You know, the region, you know, with ups and downs, right? I'm wondering the impact that has on people that are supposed to be simply doing the work and what they are actually receiving because they're trying to think for outside as well as using
I came out from the land stream, you know, I came out from the land stream, particularly because it's actually, there's some things you cannot say on the street. But once it gets out in public domain, there's some things that you want to minister to your people, your children, you want to access. So you cannot just it because you have an audience that is outside.
I want someone to be trying not to stream, want someone for that. But I'm thinking from the mega churches stand, I think that was really developed for because the messages and stuff was geared towards our global audience, opposed to developing and encouraging business within church itself.
I think I've been listening to the conversation discussion, and I myself have done some extensive research in what you presented, some aspect of what you presented today, and that is looking at the mega church downfall of the mega church. So what you presented in terms of some of the reasons why the mega churches failed, or why there is a shift away from that kind of model. There's some other factors involved. For example, what I discovered with the mega churches is that some of them really collapsed because, as I said, it was built on brand, right? So that you have this particular individual, charismatic, there's Stevie Jakes or Creflo Dollar or Joel Osteen. Some of the issues were not only the fact that the structure itself, in terms of the large budgets and so on, right, couldn't be not sustainable, but character of the individuals, right? Because a lot of these churches fell under because of controversy and information out there about their leaders, their life behind the stage, and so we know T.D. Jakes and his relationship with PDD, and that went viral. So there are other factors, but I want to agree with some things that I heard Apostle Dave said, that we have to understand the seasons at which God is moving the church around. For example, if we go right back to the time of Jesus' day, after Jesus left, he did prophesy and told them in Matthew 24 that this temple that you all are, making a big deal of because they drew the attention. Lord, have you seen anything like this? And so he says, not too long from now, one stone of this would be left upon another. What we saw happening after 70 AD, the destruction of the very temple, like about 30 years after he spoke that in Matthew 24, it manifested. But it was through that seemingly destructive aspect of the temple that the gospel was able to spread. So God uses adversity, right, to spread his word. And we have to understand the concept of seasons. I love the concept of seasons because we have to see how, in spite of what may seem to have failed or broken structures, out of that, the gospel is propagated. For example, look at COVID. COVID meant restrictions, lockdown, but what COVID spurred was a whole new opportunity to reach the globe with the gospel. Places that you and I could not have traveled to. Online, we could reach it. We could reach those communities, we could reach those people because the social media has allowed us to be connected globally. So I think the element of God, what season are we in? That has to be a big aspect of how we move forward with the church. And not just saying when something has failed because X, Y, and Z. You have to look, because through the scriptures are replete with situations where vision was cast, something was said, and then look at the channels through which it was accomplished. Let's look at Joseph, for example. Joseph dreamed a dream, and he made a pronouncement and so on. And right after that is calamity after calamity. But yet, what happened in the end? So if we connect the beginning and the end, we can't discount the meanderings in between to get to the end. That's the way of God. We see it so many times in Scripture. Same thing with Israel. Being in 430 years of bondage, coming out of Egypt, but their destination is the promised land. Look what it took for them to get into Canaan and occupy the land. So I believe that's a very important aspect of us to look at, Lord, what is this season? And what can come out of the adversities, or what we see as, those things that didn't work or don't work, and therefore the model is flawed. I see there's an upside of crisis. We always see crisis as negative, but there's an upside. In addition to which, coming back to the young mega churches, what we saw coming out of the fall of these churches is the fact that God is emphasizing character in leaders. So you cannot expect God to bless something, right? He doesn't bless mess, as you would say. Remember that. God bless mess. So you may have started off well in church, you go and so, but if you start a shift, And we, of course, remember, it is still a fact that narrow is the way, and narrow is the way that enter life. Few the leaders find it. We know the outcome of the broad road. So I think those are important things for us to consider as well. Because we have no control over how the church grows. That's God. Jesus said, I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. We never catered for COVID. Never catered for COVID. However, the church is still alive post-COVID. A whole new form that we never envisioned.
I think that's what the pastor was saying too, when it comes to the foundation.
Yeah.
Because as the church grew, as it started to expand and the seasons change, and the different seasons, and now the deliveries different and impacts. But that's a foundation of change, a foundation, and if it's
Yeah, that's a
foundation.
Positive come out of that is that if you had some building of your foundation, correct, it would have survived.
Yes.
May not have some people we didn't lose anybody.
But that's
Before you say, I don't want to digress from the Kavita, topic is not about mega church.
No.
The topic is about even a legacy.
I'm not mega star, mega church. When you talk about leadership, I see honesty, integrity, character, values. But in looking at mega church to where we are, to me it's like a scribe leading and taking out things, that which is old and that which is new,
Yes.
to build a generation,
Yes.
because we are looking at generational building that is going to last. You now you have Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and then Joseph. So all that which is important for legacy and generational continuance.
And you're right. Coming out of pandemic, if there was no learning, and we didn't see and learn anything out of it, then we really have to watch and see what did work, what was the learning coming out, so we can build it from. Yeah.
No, what I'm going to say is, first what we brought examples
But I'm not saying.
of up
we are
and
saying
down,
how
what
we build a legacy.
it is about.
Yeah, I'll say it. That's all. Yeah, so I don't want to take this. Okay. So how do we leave on this? First of all, we want to talk about build generation, which is what Pastor Joe was saying. Have the intention that we want to build generation. So a proper foundation is not laid, and what happens? The next generation comes and they will build again. Right? It's like, you build a house. A house serves its purpose for your generation and your next generation. You pass it on to your children. You pass it on to their children. Right? But what happens? If you don't teach your children well, how to keep carrying on that legacy, ends. The vision dies with it. Right? And then a new vision emerges. So that's why it's so important when you raise up son to pass on the core values and whatnot. They're able to keep those core values. So you may work very hard and you could even as a person neighbor say, new people come in your company, they waste the company, they style, everything. But what it is that you have worked on and built for all your lifetime that is protected and character and move on from your lifetime. So there are elements there that you want that will sustain the change. Always remember when you started, if you started with a grace and a vision and a code that God gave you, and now you are passing that on to our next generation. So you build generational. Now, also you have to understand what it is that while Joshua was able to carry the children of Israel, Moses, when Moses could not go, Joshua could not bring them out of Egypt. He could not bring them out of Egypt. Right? Even though Samuel heard from God, he could not identify the voice of God. He needed an Elijah to come alongside him, right, and make that possible. David himself received a kingly anointing, but he could never ascend to the throne as long as Saul was here. Right? So, our next generation and how that generation is functioning and how they operate is important. You need to pay attention to that. Right? Your seed becomes your children's fruit. Now, If you don't teach your children well, what happens? Will they take care of the house the way you took care of it? Will they leave it? Because they got it free. Because it was handed on to them. They didn't labor for it. They didn't sacrifice. They didn't do a lot of stuff. Right? But we pass it on to them. And will they value it as much as you value it? Right? So that's some kind of thing you have to look at and think about it. So identify the core values that must be engraved into that next generation. What are those core values? That's important. Have an understanding of your next generation and then start to lay the foundation of stuff for them. The vision can go beyond your lifetime if it is built properly. It can go way beyond your life. It can go from generation to generation if it is built properly. But great calling does not accomplish the vision. Right? It is hard work and obedience. It's hard work and obedience that accomplish it. Secondly, we want to build accurately. So we want to build generational. We want to see this thing go from generation to generation to generation. One of my desires is we have a kindergarten school. We want to move a primary school. Why? Because a primary school will be invested in our next generations. Raising up our next generation. Right? So we're going to move a Christian primary school so that we can instill it into our next generation that is being used. Right? Secondly, we build accurately. Right? Lay down the precepts and the principle that creates the standards. Lay down the precepts and principles that will create the standards. If you don't know what you are building, you have no future. So you have to know what you are building. If you don't know what you are building, you have no future. Psalms 127 verse 1 says, unless the Lord builds a house, but they labor in vain who build it. And unless the Lord guards the city, the watchman stays of you. If you do not have a destiny, you will never get there. That's why I say you have to know what you are building, where you are going, you have to build it accurately. Set the principles, set the standards. When there is no structure, you have great expectation in something that is flawed. So a structure has to be, it has to be a blueprint. How do I want to see the finished product? How do I want this church to look like in the next 5 years? When I'm saying you, of course, you are looking at God's vision, I don't want you to get any questions about it. But you want to see something that you want in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years. So I started the structure, I started the foundation for it. How do I build accurately? Have a goal of our objective, our plan. We will call that a vision. Have a goal of our objective, our plan. Secondly, set timelines. Because you can have all the goals, but if you don't have a timeline and also accomplish it, it never gets accomplished. So put a timeline there. Work out the costs, the challenges, and the criteria. But things change, economy change, people change. So you work that out. Then we get to plot a course. How are you doing? And regularly assess your success. And you can have any headway, everything is happening. So that's what we share from my experience. We're going to see these people in the next 5 years. We're going to see them in the next 2 years. How long is it going to take me to raise up these 3 years? So I begin to test them, I begin to share with them how quick are they gravitate, how quick are they responding. I put them out there, I ask them to do it, I give them things to do. How are they doing it? Am I satisfied with it? I need to regroup them. So like train a few like put them out. When we put them out in the front of the wrong, we then assess them, get feedback. How are they doing it? Regroup them back again. All these things.
What tool do you use to access success?
When you say them teach them, my first thing is people respond. But because you can train people, not everybody can be good teachers. That may not be their goal, they teach. They can be at their facility, they can be very caring. I have a people that they really can't teach, but they know how to care well. They are good leaders. But that's why one of the kid. So I put the people on the agenda who need that attention. You know, some people just need attention. They gravitate that. So you put people on the agenda because they know how to care for them. If they're sick, they can visit them, you can care for them, make sure they want that attention. So you work smart. You understand? Because you know your people. So you know who you want where. And then I get the feedbacks. So what we do is that every Thursday, when the live group is finished, in the WhatsApp group, everybody sends in a report. How many people were in the live group, who was upset, why they were upset, and that means that you have to be following up with them, you have to call them, so I'm ensuring that you are on top of your people. So they will send that report for me. So that's the live group finish. We have a time that is complete and finished. So that we'll send that report for me every Thursday. Every Sunday morning after service, you have to follow up on your people. So if you come on Sunday morning and the people in your group are not there, you have to be looking out for them. We send a report. So on Sunday morning, they will send back a report to me. How many people were not in church on Sunday morning for their group? Why they were not in church? Who is sick? Who had to work? Who had to do this? And coming out of that, I don't know where did my fit. Somebody is in hospital, somebody needs attention. Then that's why I'm not running down everyone. I'm identifying. So if I put together and say, well, you know, the rest, I think they need to visit this person. Those kinds. So I'm identifying, you know, where my attention is needed. What I'm getting at, so I'm keeping my pulse. So that as the church begins to grow, I'm not lost. I know where people are. I know what's going on with them. But they're not dependent on me. They're dependent on the leader. The leader's responsibility is caring for them. Right? But that doesn't take away nothing from me because I will still be here. Yeah. So there's no loss, no respect for me. Yeah. But I have things in place that even when I'm not here, the people are cared for. They are taken care for. And I can be anywhere in the world and I know who is absent because I don't can't. I'm top of what's happening. I'm not taken by surprise yet.
How do you manage with the pastor as a full-time job? How do you explain when there is a whole lot of through some people like the CEO and everybody is talking back and forth. For a pastor who is speaking to that, someone has to be watching his time, how much time he spend.
That's why you raise up two sons. That's why you raise up people who it's helping you carry the week, carry the capacity, carry you can't do it. I am full-time in industry, but I have a lot of full-time business. It's taking up a lot of my time. You travel, you do a lot of things. You understand? I am fighting to finish up my book to graduate from the doctorate that needs to go in by the end of this week. Plus preparing messages and all that kind of stuff. So I have to put the guys that I have ministering, fit them in. So it gives me that little break. So people know that they expect me on Good Friday morning, say they expect me on Easter Sunday morning. So I look at those services, communion services. So I go, those are the key services. So you fit them in other services to give you that. So you have to work around it. But if the structure is there in place, you are not lost. Because you want to make sure you have your pulse and nothing doesn't surprise you. So I have counsel on Monday evening. Tuesday morning, Pastor is there as intercessory prayer holiday couple, that's 3-4 hours. And Tuesday night we have Bible study that we prepare for Bible study and prayer meeting, right? Wednesday is our policy night where we are meeting and visit policies, and Thursday is live group, but I have a live group on Friday is general central service, Saturday is resolution practice, and on Sunday morning service. That's the year. So, but you have to be intentional. And then during these the weekend, I have youths coming to camp and people we are spending time with them and mentoring. And so that's why I tell people when I spend time with you, that is important time because I can't waste time at my age. Because I know what I'm about. So you have to structure it in a certain way and be intentional. The good thing about church is that not everybody is going to be the same. You have to know who your target is. You spend time and build people to be like you. I can have 5 people who is able to do 10 people, but they have capacity. That's what we want. I don't need a whole lot of people. I need a right people that has the capacity. That's what we want. Alright, let's move on. Build relational. Because life is not built around ministry, your ministry is built around your life. Right? So to begin to build a family of visionary around you. One of the mistakes we make is always remember, if it's always about chill. And somewhere along that road there, the family life is going to break down. Yeah. When your family life break down, you have no problem. Deliver, constant. So you have to build it in terms of you have time. So if you know you don't have the human resource to have all that we are having, but you don't, because you're going to burn out people, because you have to be everything, right? So you have to schedule it in such a way that people must have their family time. In fact, I have a musician with me, and the Sunday evening is his family, his family. Because I would not bring him out on a Sunday. Because if he's having a problem, oh, I have a problem. It's just. Oh, I said yes. Okay, life is not built around ministry. Ministry is built around your life. Right? But when the ministry is not built, our two daughters, they are on their own now, and it's just both of us. And for us, it's a ministry now. But when the ministry is not built, we still have our life. Yeah, the ministry will go on, what about our life? If it's only about the ministry, but the ministry is not yet, you can have a problem. The whole life will be focused on one day. So you have to get people to say, build a ministry around your life. And you build capacity in people and see how much everybody is at different places. Correct? So, select a conversation of person that has the ability to move you towards your destiny. Who you are connected to is more important than what you are connected to. But it's people, for the ministry is about somebody. So who's connected to you and who you are connected to? Now, the fastest way to kill a big vision is to introduce it to a small man. If you know God has given you a big vision, you want to build it because the whole thing is about. You have to get people and see that big vision. You can't see it, they will not. And then you start to work with them, they build faith. Because it takes faith to carry big vision. So you work with them, you build that type of faith, carry that big vision. Right? Because the desire to do something doesn't mean that you will accomplish it. You begin by stepping out by faith because the vision is always bigger than you. You stretch it. Right? We talk about David, and Joseph. Despite of all the challenges he had, God was moving him into the palace. Look at Jacob. Jacob built a family, but Joseph built a nation. Both of them had a calling, right? God called Abraham and he says, "You become the father of many nations." But it took Isaac. And from Isaac it took Jacob, and Jacob had the tribe. Generationally coming up, he had the grace and the calling, but it manifests itself quite often in Jacob lifetime. Right? So if you don't build it generationally, you don't know at which point God is going to take you. Your job is to build it, invest in it. Right? So we said faith is acts in your heart to go where your eyes cannot see and your mind does not understand. How can your mind conversion? Faith is acts in your heart to go, right? Where your eye cannot see and where your mind doesn't understand. So we're going to wrap up. If you're going to leave a legacy, first of all, you must have the right revelation. The garden of manna was unique to heaven, but it could be consumable. I said something very profound. The gathering of manna was unique to heaven, but it could be consumed and eaten. revelation. Develop the ability to draw from the resource of heaven and apply it to the season of what God is doing. This is exactly what we see. Right? Develop the ability to draw from heaven, understand the season that you're in. I shared a message on the Hebrew calendar in the year that we're in 2026, at 6 Bar, what it represents. And this is the year of restoration. God is restoring, right? When it comes to our mistakes. And this is a year of restoration, right? 6 day Bar talks about a meal, talks about the symbol is that of a meal, and it speaks of restoration. We are moving in the Hebrew calendar, which is the Hebrew month that's close, right? And that's the sign of spring, and when new things is coming forth. What was once under the earth would spring forth in a manifestation of new things. What was hidden under the earth will come forth. When you understand this concept, you understand this season, what God is about, what He is doing, right? So, follow, get a revelation, right, of what the God of that time. You must have the right reposition. When God is ready to work with someone, He relocates them. So there has to be a removal of the old season we talked about, an old culture, an old mindset to what God is about to do. That's why we look and see how is God moving, right? Abraham had to leave his country and his people. David had to be removed from the pasture. Moses had to be removed from the palace. Joseph had to be removed from his family. Anytime God is about to do something new in a new season, He relocates. The whole mindset shift has to take place. So it's a new season. So we have to look and see what is God doing and how do I need to shift to suit that. Right? And we talked about the online. So, is it working? Is it not working? Right? For some churches, it may work beautifully. For others, it may not. Right? So you have to know what works well for you. What works well with the people that God is sending to you? The people that is coming today is the people God is sending today, and they are unique to come under Him because He grace and what He needs to input into their life. They come by me, they may be wrong fit, right? So God is sending people, and He's sending them with purpose. So a lot of times we drive around them, not that they leave. Sometimes we pray God to the foot for them, and God send them. We are able to teach them, so we don't understand what God is doing. So we have to know. The other thing is have a right relationship. Right? I'm saying some strong things. But the people who are going nowhere will carry you nowhere. So if you're in a church that is going nowhere, they have no vision, they're not moving, the same thing every Sunday morning, then you're going to keep people stagnated right there. But they can only move and go as fast as the church is good. It's like a worship leader. When a worship leader plateaus, that's all they can do. That's where the worship goes. Yes, that's where it goes. So the further they can carry people, the more they can move, the more they can carry people into the deeper into the worship. If there is no depth in that worship leader, how are they going to move people into the depth of worship? So look at Elisha. He was removed around among the sons of the prophet, and his choice was to follow after Elijah. And that following and granted him another portion of the empire. So as he said, sometimes you don't need a whole lot of people around you. You just need to get the right people. So when we were about to transit the church, I remember I was working a part that says, get a few of the right people around you and start to build up. We started. We took about 5 or 6 men, spend time with them, go to Starbucks, we have coffee, we sit, we just talk, just share with them, share vision, hear with their artists, get to hear about their family, get a safe place, get to hear about their finances, get to hear what's going on. We just want to hear what's going on in the job, what's going on at home. We just spend time with them, building a relationship with them. I can't correct them if I build a relationship. If I correct them, they're going to offend me. I can't ask them their personal business if I don't have a relationship. I need to get in their personal business in order to build them. It has to be intentional. But you're building to move on. Otherwise, you don't have to get stuck where you are. You'll continue to be pastor. You can't see anybody who you can raise up and If one or two or three persons good enough, take this chit-chat into the program. Yeah. So you have to be intentional and taking our time, spending it there, because you want to know it. You want to know everything about it. We have a couple of years trying, and we are taking a couple of years but that gives us one-on-one personal time with them. Act partnerships. I can build relationship with you. I don't know what's happening in your market. It's not how you're managing your finances, because you have to manage people's finances. Every single detail of it, but I want you to be comfortable and see me as a partner and trust and feel safe in that talk. I can only do that if I build a personal relationship, an intimate relationship. That's what intentional is. You get it? So you build the right relationships. Good.
Thanks for watching Leaving a Legacy with Reverend Vishnu Seepersad. For more content from Thy Will Ministries, like and subscribe to our channel.